Have you ever felt as if you're fighting the entire world, when in truth the real conflict is taking place inside your own mind? Miyamoto Musashi, the legendary Japanese samurai, won more than 60 duels without a single defeat. Yet his greatest victory was not achieved with a blade. It was mastery over himself. In the final days of his life, alone in a cave, he wrote the Bushido, a manuscript made up of 21 uncompromising principles on how to live with unshakable resolve. These were not abstract reflections or decorative philosophy. They were mental tools shaped by decades of relentless discipline. The difficult truth is this: most people waste their energy trying to control what is outside their control. The opinions of others, the past they cannot change, and a future that remains uncertain. While doing so, they ignore the only battle that truly matters: control of their own mind. Have you experienced this? That sense of being stuck in destructive patterns, quietly undermining your own progress and potential. Musashi understood something few people ever grasp. When you stop struggling against the world and begin disciplining your thoughts, fears, and impulses, everything shifts. External pressures lose their influence. Internal weaknesses begin to turn into sources of strength. Today, you're going to learn 7 of the most powerful principles from the Bushido, not as elegant ideas meant to be admired from a distance, but as practical psychological tools you can apply to become mentally unbreakable. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could mark the difference between continuing to sabotage yourself and finally taking real control of your life. If you've ever felt that your own mind is sometimes your greatest obstacle, this video was made precisely for you. The first principle will challenge you immediately. But before we begin with Musashi's first principle, I need to ask you an honest question, and I want you to answer in the comments now. What form of self-sabotage holds you back the most? Is it the fear of failure or the fear of being judged? It may sound simple, but when you put it into words, something meaningful happens. You pull the problem out of the shadows and bring it into awareness. And here's something important to know. Every time you leave a comment like this, you help spread the teachings of Japanese philosophy to people who truly need them. YouTube is more likely to show this video to the right audience when it recognizes an active, engaged community. So comment below and become part of a focus group dedicated to changing lives through ancient wisdom. And while we're talking about community, if you've reached this point and still haven't liked the video, do it now. Seriously. It may feel minor, but when you click like, you're telling YouTube, this content matters. Show it to others who feel stuck and are searching for direction. Costs nothing and takes less than a second. That single action can be the difference between this video reaching 500 people or 50,000 people who might change their lives today. Before we move on, check one thing quickly. Are you already subscribed to the channel? The upcoming videos are part of a complete series designed to build discipline, strengthen mindset, and prepare you to enter 2026 at a completely different level. This isn't random content. It's a structured progression. If you don't subscribe, you'll miss the sequence. So click subscribe now. Now, let's focus on what really matters. The first principle of the Bushido goes straight to the core. Principle 1. Do not resist what you cannot control. Do you know which mental trap drains more energy than almost anything else, often without you noticing? It's the constant struggle against things you will never be able to change. Traffic that stays chaotic, someone else's behavior, a mistake you made 3 years ago that still returns to your mind every morning. Miyamoto Musashi understood something most people spend their entire lives learning. Energy is a warrior's most valuable resource, and wasting it fighting what is unavoidable is the fastest route to defeat. Japanese philosophy holds a powerful idea behind this. It's not about passivity or resignation. It's about intelligent acceptance. When Musashi faced an opponent who was physically stronger, he didn't exhaust himself trying to win on the opponent's terms. He accepted reality and adjusted his strategy. While the other fighter drained his own strength, Musashi conserved his and struck at the right moment. This is the clear difference between reacting emotionally and responding with intelligence. Think about it. How many hours of your week are lost complaining about situations that won't change? Arguing with people who will never understand you? replaying events that already happened and are completely outside your control? Every minute spent there is a minute taken away from real growth. The question that changes everything is simple. Does this depend on me right now? If the answer is no, accept it and focus on your next action. This isn't cold behavior. It's maturity. It's self-mastery. Weak men complain about reality. Warriors adapt. This principle alone can free you from an invisible prison you didn't even realize you were living in. Now I want to go deeper, because the next principle reveals an even more uncomfortable truth about the need for external validation. Comment this: I only control what depends on me. Principle 2. Do not pursue pleasure for its own sake. Here's a truth most people avoid. You are dependent on instant pleasure, and it's slowly destroying your ability to build anything meaningful. This isn't about obvious addictions. It's about endless scrolling on your phone, the shows you watch to relax, that are really just distractions. The food you order not because you're hungry, but because your brain wants a quick dopamine hit. Musashi warned about this centuries ago. Constant pleasure weakens the mind of a warrior. Japanese philosophy understands something deep about emotional discipline. When you train your brain to chase comfort all the time, you lose the ability to act when motivation disappears. And here's the critical point. Everything valuable in life requires action precisely when you don't feel like it. That workout when you're exhausted. That project when inspiration is gone. That difficult conversation you want to avoid. Musashi lived in isolation, training under harsh conditions, because he knew excessive comfort leads directly to mediocrity. He treated pleasure as a reward after discipline, never as an escape before effort. The difference seems small, but the outcome is drastic. One strengthens willpower. The other turns you into a servant of impulse. Look at your routine honestly. How often do you choose easy comfort over necessary action? How many times do you delay what matters because you're not in the mood? If you only act when you feel motivated, you will never be free. You'll spend your life waiting for the perfect moment that never arrives. Real change happens when you act despite resistance, not because of sudden inspiration. Here's the paradox. The more you chase pleasure for its own sake, the less real pleasure you experience. Your brain demands larger doses just to feel anything. It's a psychological and chemical trap. The next principle explains why so many people stay stuck in relationships and situations that destroy their inner peace. Comment this: discipline is freedom. And since we're talking about discipline and real change, I prepared additional material for those who are serious about applying what we've discussed. It's called The Path of Japanese Discipline. This ancestral method was designed to transform an ordinary mind into one that is disciplined, focused, and stable, capable of acting daily even when motivation fades, fatigue sets in, and no one is watching. This isn't about short-term excitement or motivation that disappears after a few days. It's about building mental strength that creates lasting results. The material teaches how to eliminate procrastination, manage unstable emotions, and build quiet consistency. Over 1 million copies have already helped people worldwide. If this resonates with you, check the material linked in the description. It may be removed at any time, so take advantage while it's available. It complements this video and can save you years of trial and error. Now, back to Musashi's principles. The next one highlights something many people never notice: how they emotionally trap themselves in people and situations that block growth. Principle 3. Do not depend on external desires. In the Dakoto, Musashi wrote not only to avoid seeking pleasure, but also not to attach yourself to what comes from outside. Here's a hard truth. The more you rely on external things to feel whole, the weaker you become. Approval from others, recognition at work, attention online, or fast results that validate effort. Every time you place your inner peace in something you don't control, you give away your power. Japanese philosophy teaches radical emotional independence. Musashi didn't fight to impress anyone. He trained alone, refined his skills in silence, and faced his inner struggles without an audience. No applause, no recognition, and that's exactly why he became unbeatable. His strength came from within. Look at your own life. How many choices are driven by how others might react? How often do you avoid doing what's right because no one will notice or give credit? How many times do you quit because results didn't come fast enough to show someone else? This isn't strategy. It's emotional dependence. A warrior doesn't seek validation. He acts with integrity, even in solitude. When you stop relying on external desires, something powerful happens. Criticism no longer breaks you. Praise doesn't inflate you. You follow your path because it's right, not because someone is watching. This is the warrior mindset. This is what separates people who build something real from those who only perform for attention. The next principle exposes an even more dangerous trap. Regret. Comment this: my strength comes from within. Principle 4. Have few possessions and many skills. Musashi wrote, "Do not collect weapons or practice with tools you cannot use." Applied to modern life, this means stop accumulating. Stop collecting courses you never finish, books you don't read, plans you never act on, and objects you don't use. Here's the hidden truth. Accumulation creates attachment, and attachment creates fear. Fear of loss, fear of letting go, fear of simplifying. The more fear you carry, the slower your progress becomes. Japanese philosophy promotes strategic minimalism, not for appearance, but for mental clarity. Musashi traveled alone with only his 2 swords and basic necessities. No excess, no extra weight. He understood that the less you carry, the faster you move forward. Every distraction slows your growth. Every unnecessary commitment drains energy from what truly matters. Look at your daily life. How many things distract you instead of strengthening you? How many goals are you chasing without mastering any? How many apps, tasks, objects, and worries are taking up mental space that should be used to build real skills? Growth doesn't come from having more. It comes from mastering what you choose to carry. Simplify your routine. Remove excess. Focus on fewer goals and execute them with precision. Invest in skills no one can take away. Discipline, focus, emotional strength, and strategic thinking. These are the only possessions that matter, because when everything around you eventually falls apart, your internal skills are what keep you standing. The next principle addresses something that paralyzes millions of people: the constant need for comfort. Comment this: fewer things, more clarity. Principle 5. Do not cling to the past. In the Dakota, Musashi was clear: do not regret what you have done. This doesn't mean acting without conscience. It means understanding that guilt and regret imprison more effectively than chains. You can be physically free and still mentally trapped by decisions made years ago, mistakes committed, words spoken, or opportunities missed. While you stay locked in this invisible prison, life keeps moving forward. Time doesn't pause for anyone to endlessly process the past. Japanese philosophy teaches a hard truth about freedom. Every person has regrets. Musashi killed his first opponent at 13. He lived a life marked by violence, isolation, and difficult choices. The difference was not that he felt no regret, but that he refused to let the past control the present. He distilled the lesson, removed the emotional weight, and returned to the only moment that truly exists: the present. Now, consider how much mental energy you waste every day revisiting what's already happened. The argument from months ago, that ended relationship, the opportunity you let slip by, the mistake you keep punishing yourself for. Each time you dwell on these, you're stealing energy from your future to feed ghosts of the past. Here's a truth few grasp: the past is a teacher, not a prison. You take the lesson and move forward, or you keep ruminating and remain a slave to something you can never change again. Real transformation occurs when you forgive yourself, not superficially, but deeply. When you recognize that the version of yourself back then did the best they could with the knowledge they had. Now you know more. Now you are capable of more, but only if you let go of that weight. Let's go deeper, because the next principle exposes the final trap keeping most people stuck in mediocrity: the desperate need for certainty. Comment now: I learned from the past. I don't live in it. Principle 6. Don't let emotions make decisions. Musashi wrote in the Dakota, never deviate from the way. In practice, this means strong emotions narrow your vision. When anger, anxiety, fear, or euphoria dominate, you're not seeing reality. You're seeing it filtered through a distorted lens. Decisions made in this state almost always lead to regret. How many times have you sent a message in anger and regretted it minutes later? How many times have you quit something important because fear shouted louder than reason? Japanese philosophy teaches the power of conscious detachment. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about creating space between stimulus and response. Something occurs, the emotion rises, but instead of reacting immediately, you observe, breathe, and wait for the peak to pass before deciding. Musashi faced life-or-death duels. If he had let fear or anger dictate his actions, he would have died in the first combat. He won because he controlled his emotions, not because he lacked them. Reflect on your worst decisions. Most were likely made under emotional intensity. Anger, anxiety, fear, or euphoria hijacked your clarity. Transformation happens when you treat emotions as information, not commands. They indicate what you feel, not what you should do. Master emotion and you master your destiny. Calm decisions, even in chaos, make you unstoppable. Comment: I decide with my mind, not with emotion. Principle 7. Accept death as part of the path. In the Dakota, Musashi wrote, "Don't fear death." He wasn't being morbid. He was giving the key to live fully. The truth is unavoidable. We all will die. While we pretend time is infinite, wasting days on autopilot, delaying dreams, making excuses, life slips away. Japanese philosophy treats death as the ultimate teacher. Samurai meditated on their mortality daily, not to live in fear, but to live with purpose. Awareness of death fuels life. When you accept that days are numbered, you stop wasting time on the irrelevant. You stop postponing important conversations. You stop waiting for a perfect moment that never comes. Imagine having only 1 year to live. Who would you spend it with? What would you stop doing immediately? Which fears would you face without hesitation? The brutal reality: no one knows how much time remains. By ignoring this, you live as if tomorrow is guaranteed, postponing the important indefinitely. Musashi treated each day as his final training. Every movement mattered. Every decision had weight. He didn't rush desperately, but lived fully present. That's the difference. Remembering death stops you from wasting life. Stop living on autopilot. Stop trading what matters for convenience. Accept death and you start truly living. Comment: every day is my final training. Now, let's connect all 7 principles into a method for daily transformation. The Dakota is not motivation or temporary inspiration. It's a code of personal responsibility. Musashi didn't promise happiness, applause, or recognition. He promised something rarer: internal freedom. This freedom comes from embracing 3 truths. Discipline. Nothing meaningful is built without it. Knowledge without action achieves nothing. Discipline means acting daily, even when unmotivated. Silence. Transformation happens away from the spotlight, in solitude, facing your internal challenges without validation. Constancy. Isolated decisions achieve nothing. It's the daily, unwavering commitment that shapes who you are. Musashi wrote the Dakota at age 62, days before dying alone in a cave. He wasn't trying to impress anyone. He condensed decades of victories, defeats, and lessons into 21 brutally honest principles. And here's the final revelation: these rules weren't meant to make you comfortable. They were designed to make you strong, mentally equipped to withstand any challenge, unbreakable when life pressures you. The question isn't whether you understand the principles. The question is, will you apply them? Knowledge without action is just entertainment. If you've stayed this far, you're not here for entertainment. You're here for real transformation. Comment: I choose the path of the unshakable. If you've made it this far, you've already proven something most won't. Most give up midway, seek shortcuts, or want results without effort. You stayed. You absorbed. You're ready to pay the price for true change. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. The next videos are not just content. They are mental tools, applied philosophy, and concrete strategies to build an unshakable mindset. This isn't random. It's a structured path, and I'm walking it with you step by step. Remember, Musashi's Dakodo contains 21 principles. Today we covered the first 7. Imagine the impact of the remaining 14. So tell me, do you want part 2? Comment now, I want part 2. I need to know who is truly committed, who doesn't just watch, but applies, who doesn't just consume, but transforms. Before you leave, check the first pinned comment. There's a complete ebook on Japanese discipline that deepens and expands everything we've covered here. Don't miss it. It's worth every second. Finally, there's a video linked on the side that complements this content perfectly. Click and continue there, because the journey has only just begun.